7.1 million people in the waiting room ahead of me.
Stephen Colbert this week. So Michael Steele, I sort of started to set this up in the last block. I guess what I'm kind of curious about is what is long term, what is the way out of this for the Republican Party? If Obamacare is something that is going to become part of the safety net in this country, right, it's going to be a question of, hey, do you change it this way, do you change it that way? But the basic structure stays in place, because when you've got all these millions of people, enrolled now, the idea of repeal is getting more and more sort of remote by the day. Right. What is it going to take to get the Republican Party? Because we're hearing it this week still. Bill Kristol, no way is this settled. We're still going to repeal it. Bobby Jindal, repeal it. Paul Ryan releases his budget this week, repeal it. What is the way out where the Republicans stop talking about repeal?
I think it's ultimate failure on the repeal. Because remember, what's the guiding light here?
Haven't we had enough failure on the repeal?
No, you haven't. And this is why. Because you've only had one chamber of the House of the government voting on it. Mm-hmm. So the battle for the Senate is the next line for the repeal effort. But the president would never allow that to happen. Follow the bouncing ball. So you get the Senate. So then you've got now Republican control of both. The repeal effort comes up. We know Obama's not going to sign a law that's going to take away his signature to legislation. The battleground becomes 2016. The fight for the repeal of Obamacare comes to 20. Think about it logically. It has to. That has to be the ultimate. But does it? Because again, we're talking about these numbers. I mean, these numbers are going to start to grow. Could start to grow very quickly now. We're talking about 7 million enrolled by now, 3 million Medicaid. Again, we're talking about a universe in 2016. Can you imagine a Republican running a campaign? Again,
if 20 million people are enrolled, could a Republican run a campaign on repeal?
You are talking about a number that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Because the bottom line is people's experience already in the system is not a good one. It feeds into that. I'm just giving you the calculation going forward and how this thing plays itself out. Just because you're giving me 7 million people, 20 million people, but if the experience of 13 million of that 20 million is a bad experience, that gives momentum to the impetus to repeal down the road. So the battle cry goes on until 2016.
So you think this is a good idea for them to continue to...
Oh, I didn't say it was a good idea.
Oh, okay.
I was giving you the strategy. This is the strategy. Look, I have my real issues. I'm all for repealing Obamacare because I was against it from the beginning. I think principally to your earlier point, fundamentally the government has no space here at all. There are other ways in which this issue of getting insurance to 30 million people out of 230 million at that time, or 300 million, could have been done without upending.
Suppose for 1 second, though, because I'll take your point. Look, nobody has the crystal ball, so to speak. Nobody can. That just came out. I don't know why that really did just come out. Nobody can see exactly what this is going to be like in 2016. But look, we heard all the dire predictions that they're never going to get to 7 million. They got to 7 million. Now, yes, we got to understand exactly what's in that 7 million. I understand that. And we don't know if you get to 15, 20 million by 2016. Yeah, sure, maybe people's experience with it is bad. I think we can certainly put on the table, it's a very real possibility, that we'll be in 2016, we'll be in a presidential election year. You're going to have upwards of 20 million people signed up for this, and by and large, the experience will be good, and it will be people saying, no, I don't want to give up this thing I have right now. Can the Republican Party run a campaign in that climate saying, yes, repeal?
Yes. Because they have, and they will continue to do so until there is, I think, ultimately resolution within the party on this issue. And in my estimation, just given what I know and who I've talked to, this fight is going to be in play until we get to the battle for the White House, with the idea being the penultimate move. You've got the House, the Senate, and the White House, and then the repeal issue becomes very much more important.
I think the piece of analysis that what you're saying misses, and I don't doubt that Republicans may indeed think that and may indeed try to do that, but the battle that has actually been lost is we used to have this question of whether we should have universal health care, whether that is a worthy goal, whether everyone deserves the right to have quality health care. That argument is over. And we know it's over because you see people like Bobby Jindal saying, well, here's my alternative. And even though he doesn't cover as many people, the goal has now become, how can we extend health care to the largest number of folks? That battle has been lost.
But
and
that was never a
question.
I don't think that was ever really a question.
It was a question.
Not from Republicans, it was.
I want to get Katie. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I think the part of the other issue is that the healthcare system has actually been fundamentally transformed. And so what Republicans are going to need to do in 2016 is go back to the insurance companies, back to the doctors, and say, hey, we're going to go through this again. And you are not going to see the level of industry support. I mean, they just went through this 4 years ago. They have changed. They have transformed. They've, worked on what their premiums are going to be. And I just don't see them wanting to go through this.
There is that reality of, look, the Democratic base, the sort of the hardcore left base in the Democratic Party has wanted single payer, right?
Yeah.
And what this ended up being was a very sort of market-friendly, insurance company-friendly plan. So it's something that insurance companies probably can live with, and so what you're saying is true. Once it's on the books, that becomes traumatic for them to change it. But Alex, just talk about the politics of this for 2014 and 2016, because I've been hearing from Democrats since they passed it that, hey, this is going to turn into a political winner for us. It's actually going to help in 2010. Didn't, it's going to help in 2012. I don't know, maybe it did. But we're looking at 2014, and we're looking at projections of, hey, Republicans could take back the Senate, probably going to pick up seats in the House. I mean, is it possible you come through this year for all the good news that we're talking about in terms of implementation? Republicans run on repealing Obamacare, and they made gains in the House and the Senate. I mean, where does that leave them?
Well, I think you could have a really unusual situation where Obamacare helps Republicans and it helps Democrats. And we saw this a little bit in the Washington Post ABC poll that came out this week, where the numbers were up, and most of that was driven by Democrats coming back home. A lot of Democrats who were disillusioned by Obama for lots of reasons, NSA scandal, maybe one of the big ones, and then especially once the website, broke. But now coming back into the fold, once that 7 million numbers, I think the main audience that the White House is pushing for that is Democrats. And of course, in this election, that's their key audience. They need independents, sure, but the main thing that they need is to get Democrats to the polls because of the drop-off that you have every time in midterm elections. So if they can energize the base, if they can get the base excited about defending Obamacare, which I think they're starting to do, and they have many months to do that, then it could actually help them significantly at the same time that it could help get Republicans to the polls. So it's a base mobilization on both sides.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because it's the promise I've been hearing from Democrats for 4 years now, and I've been sort of waiting to see it actually happen. Anyway, thanks to MSNBC's Crystal Ball, National Journal's Alex Seitz-Wald. We will see both of you later in the show for something very special. But before that, two important new developments in the Christie investigation.